Good evening, friends. Hello. How are we all doing tonight? Happy Tuesday. It is another great learning live evening. It's back to school. Maybe you've been busy with back to school, but now you're taking some time for yourself. So that is awesome. Please do let me know in the comments if you can hear me okay, if the sound is okay, if the lighting's okay. I am flying solo tonight. So if you need anything from me and you're typing in the comments, please in big capital letters write the word question. I'm gonna try and keep track of all the things, but if you can put that word question in the comments, that will help me kind of scan and see what I need to talk about. So hello everyone. As you're tuning in, oh, Joan says everything's good. That makes me happy. Means that I did something right. Technology is always one of those things that can just as easily go sideways, but we're gonna knock on wood, and for the next 45 minutes to an hour, let's just make sure everything goes smoothly. So I'm going to just switch over to my desktop, and let's get started. As I mentioned, we are back to basics with our learning lives this month, just talking about some things that we all probably have, but maybe need to dig out, or maybe just need some fresh new ideas on how to use them. So tonight is all about nesting dies. Nesting dies are one of those things that if I had to give up all my other dies, well, there might be a bit of a fight. I do love my lawn fawn, do love my some of my spellbinders dies, but if I had to give everything up and just have one style of die, it would be nesting dies, because there really is just so much that you can do with it. I've got a little list here of like 7 different things that we can do. I don't know that we're going to get to all 7 tonight, but let's just even talk about some of these things, and maybe it will inspire you. So, if you are new to nesting dies, if you've never heard of nesting dies before, what are they? They are a set of dies that starts with the largest size and then progressively gets smaller and smaller and smaller, so that you come down to little bitty dies. And they're called nesting, obviously, because they nest within each other. So just like nesting dolls, you've seen those dolls where you got the big doll, then the next smaller, then smaller, all the way down to a wee doll. This is very similar to that in concept. Now, every brand calls them something different. Even within brands, like I think Spellbinders sometimes calls them nesting dies, sometimes calls them just a die set. It is Hero Arts calls them infinity dies. I've heard them called stackables. There's all kinds of names for them, but if this is what they look like, then they are a nesting die. So that you've got all those different sizes that just nest in and amongst themselves. Now, there are also different finishes. So at your basic level, you will just have your shaped die cut. So this one here, the Essential Artist from Spellbinders, I will tell you, if I had to whittle it down to one die set, that the Arches is the one that does it for me. But there's so many different shapes and sizes out there that you can find your own personal favorite as well. So there are the plain ones. Then you get ones like this one here that have decorative finishes on them. You've got different shapes here. So all the kind of goldy colored ones, bronzy colored ones are Spellbinders. These ones here are Lawn Fawn. Lawn Fawn is well known for their stitched dies. So they've got these little tiny stitch marks that deboss into the paper and leave that stitching mark behind. I will show you. Yeah, I'll probably play with one of these in one of my examples tonight. So Lawn Fawn is well known for their stitching. And then there are other ones as well. So we've got Waffle Flower that have their piercing dies, very much like the stitch dies, except they're let's call their stitches little dots as opposed to actual dashes for the stitching. Uh, Always a variety of shapes. So circles, ovals, squares, rectangles are generally your most common. This one here is called a heritage rectangle, and it's got this little dash line like the emerald cut does, but it also have the dots like a piercing die set. And I've got tons and tons of different shapes. And then, Spellbinders is really changing things up. And so they kind of mix things up. So this one's got this nice big scallop. It's got a straight die, then a stitch die, then a straight die, then a stitch die. And you get an extra little bow in there as well. I've got my everlasting circles. Absolutely love these guys. Use them all the time. And yeah, lots of great options here. Now, as you can see, I like to store mine on nice big magnetic sheets. Currently, mine are on Lawn Fawn because some of these got organized even before we got our own PCW ones. When I open up this Heritage one, I'll show you. I'll put it on one of the PCW ones and show you how those work. And then actually, I'm going to switch back. Let's switch back to this camera just for a second because my computer's a little bit easier to move. When I'm working on a project and have all of these dies out and moving things around and switching them up, this is my little secret weapon. So we do have, whoops, let me get the angle right. We do have these super large, there we go, super large magnets in the store, really only designed for store pickup. I don't think they can ship very well, but I keep this here beside my desk so that I can put my dies on them as I'm using them and not have to worry about where they fit kind of in the nest, so to speak. And then when I'm all done, when I'm cleaning everything up, then I go and put everything back away. All right. So Angela says that she keeps all her nesting dies in a basket beside her die cut machine because she reaches for them all the time. Angela, I'm right with you. We all have our different ways of doing it, but definitely the nesting dies are things that I use all the time. All right, so let's get right into actually making stuff. Now, one of the real beauties of the nesting dies, at least for me tonight, and in all your crafting, is there is such a variety of sizes. So I'm going to show you a couple of samples as we go along of ones that I've made in the past. They are a full A2 card size, but for tonight, I want to use up some of this bin of scraps. So I may be doing some mini cards. You could call them mini cards. You could call them tags. You can use them for, whatever purpose you want. Again, the beauty is that you've got all these sizes to mix and match and play with. And actually, I just thought of yet another way that you can use it. So now I'm up to 8. Again, don't think we're going to get through all 8 tonight, but let's just play around and see where this evening goes. Where do I want to start? So let's clear this out of the way. Other things that I have handy that I use a lot with my nesting dies is my scoring board. And then, of course, my trimmer to keep things all trimmed down and easy to use. So let me just making some room so I don't lose stuff over here. Here are just some examples. And you know what? You may find these very familiar because I showed them last week when I was doing the Better Press. So here is that arch nesting die. And remember, there is not only one way to use a nesting die. This one looks like it's supposed to be portrait, but you can always turn it sideways. And here I've got that larger one. I've got the smaller one in here. And then it just so happened that oval fit really nicely into that same archway. I'll come back to this one in a second. This one's using it as a frame. We will definitely show that. This one here, I made it into a shaped card. So all I did was I cut a second piece that goes on the back. Create a score line. And we'll make one of these, so don't worry about remembering how to do it. But just create a little score line on the back so that the card can open. But you've got your back side and your front side, then the shape matching the same thing. And then I've used the center bit here right in the middle. So just because you make a frame or you cut something a little bit differently doesn't mean it's not going to work together. Here's another way of doing a frame. So where this one, the frame is sitting on top of the card. This one, I cut it twice. So I cut it once out of white to get the outside frame, and then once out of, I think this is called Windy, and just nested inside. So if you are going for a flatter kind of look, or you don't want quite so much bulk, then that's another way you can do it as well. And then this is just another one with that emerald cut. Now, I always like to challenge myself to think of different ways that I can use my products, use my supplies. A little bit crooked. Oh well, we're just gonna go with it. See if I can get that a little bit more straight on. I probably just made it worse. There we go. There we go. And I will say that even if you are not a card maker, if you are a scrapbooker, you could 100% use these on a layout. Whether you treat it like a card that you put on a layout, you can use the nesting dies to crop your photos, create unique shapes, layer things together, create windows. So a lot of what I'm going to share with you tonight, a lot of the ideas you can use on a layout and not just on a card. So here's the idea I had to start with. And again, I'm going to start with my Essential Arches, which is, like I said, definitely one of my favorite die sets. I don't know why. It's just something about this clean classic arch that absolutely speaks to me. So you could make a shaped card out of this. You could use this just on your card front, but I'm going to use this as a card element. So this is a case where I am going to do a full-size card. I think I may have, yep. So I've got a card front panel here. And what colors am I going to use? Let's just pull out some scraps here. So I think, can I get a piece out of this? Yep. Let's do that tealy color. And let's do my very favorite Cosmic Shimmer. Oh, look, there's one that's already cut. So I may use that later. There's my Cosmic Sky, and those are pretty colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this same size, and I'm going to cut it 3 times. I'm not going to bring my die cutting machine over just yet. I think you guys know how to die cut. I will bring it over, or at least bring the plates over when I do some other techniques. But for right now, and again, apologize for the shakety. But there's one. Still lots on here. Still lots in here to be used, so we can go back in the scrap pile. Don't need to cut with my scoreboard. Let's do, so this is just shy of 2 inches. So if I go to 2 inches, I should be good. And while I've got this out, let's cut this piece here as well. So these will go back in the scrap pile. And you know, these nesting dies really are a great way to use up some of your scraps. Because you can kind of judge what size of die you're going to use based on the scrap of paper that you've got. There's one, and then this one here. All right, so I've got 3 of these little guys cut. That one probably won't get anything else out of that, so that one can go in the recycling. But there's this little piece on here. So let's keep that. And this is going to go up on my board here right beside me, and I'll put it away later. So if I've got my card base, excuse me, I can just, let's do this one here. I can lay these out like this. And all of a sudden that card is starting to come together. Now I don't necessarily like all this space, but I don't want to space them out too wide. So in hindsight, I might have, tried one and figured out my spacing, but you know what? I'm actually not too fussed about this. So I can just, excuse me, grab my tape runner. And what I typically do when I am doing groupings of 3 like this is I will attach my top one. I will attach my bottom one. Try and get the spacing right on those. Oh, there's a little extra tape there. A little too much tape on there, but that's okay. At least it's not going to fall off. So I'm making sure my border is nice here. And then I can really cheat that middle one and just find the way that it goes in the center. Or I could be really, that's kind of fun too. But I'm going to stick with my original plan. So shape dies can be used to create basically shaped elements that work on your page. And then I could just take, I've got my bag of sentiments here. Oh, look, I've got some butterflies in here. What have I got in here? I mean, I could just take a butterfly, pop that up. Grab a sentiment. How about thank you? And look, bingo bango, you have a card. And I actually didn't mean to be finishing cards tonight. I was just going to show you, as I call them, naked ideas. But this one's coming together fast. So let's just go ahead. And again, if you are more of a scrapbooker, you could do a whole border down the side of your page, you alternating your colors on, a shaped image like that. And I really do want those arches to show. So I'm going to move my thank you over to this side. And look how fast and easy that was. We are only, well, I guess we're 20 minutes in, but I did a lot of talking off the top. So there's card number 1. And again, you use the shapes as the shapes. But you can also don't be afraid to turn them around. So the flat part can go at the top, it can go on the side, or it can go on the bottom, whichever you prefer. And that's really the beauty of these shape dies. Okay, so the next thing you can do is make frames. And I kind of talked about it a little bit here and a little bit here. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how you pull those all together. So, what shape can we do? What have I got over here? What have I got? Oh, here's a fun one. What if we did, decisions. It's really not that hard. I'm going to do some ovals. So I'm going to come down here. One of these is called modern oval and one of these is called stylish oval. And I apologize. I don't recall which one. But we'll use, maybe we'll do it here and pretend that that's our card base. Because as I showed you before, that oval will fit really nicely in that shape and yet still give us, some differentiation. So I think I'm going to go one size smaller for my outside, just so we can keep seeing that beautiful, beautiful blue. And you know what? Because I said you could. let's put the straight edge at the top. Now, a lot of these are very thin. In order to get all of these different sizes on here, your dies are going to be very thin. So you may find that as you are using them, they may start to warp and bend. It is just the natural method of using a pressurized die cut machine that's going to cause that to happen. I'm going to give you some tips as I die cut. It's a little bit different with an oval, but if you do find it, you can just ever so gently bend it back into shape. So there's that one there. Now I could just go down one size and have a really thin frame, but I'm gonna be a little bit bolder on this one. So I'm actually gonna go down. I'm leaving two sizes in the middle and going down here. So I'm gonna have a nice bold frame around that opening. And what color should we do? Let's do, we want something that has nice contrast here. Do I have? Nope, there's no pieces on that one. Nope, not big enough. Trying to find just a scrap that's big enough. That's a little bit different. Oh, let's go with, nope, not quite big enough. Okay, let's go yellow. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take my dies. Now that I know that those are the two shapes that I want, I'm going to flip it over so that the cutting side is down. And then I'm going to take the center one and do the same thing. So now the cutting side is down. It is the way that I need to cut it. And I'm just going to move it ever so slightly to make sure that that frame and that border is an even, as close to even as possible. I am definitely a team eyeball person, so I'm not too fussed if it's a little bit off one way or the other, but it's looking pretty good. And now I'm taking my best ever craft tape, and then this is the key. Whoopsie, I just moved it there. Move it back. And I'm going to tape it down so that both dies are taped. And I'm going to do the same to the other side because we do not want these things to wiggle. Okay. Let me get my plates and show you. Now, again, these are oval, so they are not, it's not as crucial to do this next step with a rounded die. It is definitely much more crucial if you are doing something that's square or has a more squared off corner. But don't just put your dies in straight. Put them on the Sheri approved jaunty angle. And what that does is as your plates are going through the machine and the rollers grab the die, it's starting from the smallest possible area and then pushing out to cover the rest of the area. That will not only give you or help you avoid what I call a speed bump, so that it's really hard to get through the rollers because there's a big long line that it's trying to get over, but it is also going to give you even pressure or more even pressure as you roll your plates through the die or through the machine. And now that I've got all kinds of stuff out here, all right, let's move this over, crank it through. And bingo bango. Now, sometimes when you do this, the tape does cut because there is a lot of pressure going through it. So you may have to kind of pick at it a little bit. Those are still usable, somewhat usable pieces. So I like to save my tape as long as I possibly can. No, but see, that one tore. Doop. You should see my die cutting machine. It's got all kinds of yellow tape all over it. All right, but now we've got our two dies that come out, and you've now got your donut, if you will. So that can go on here. Don't get rid of this because you never know when you're going to need a solid oval in a different different configuration. This guy, you know what? Yeah, I could probably, yeah, you know what? Let's throw it back in the scrap pile. So now these are going to go up on my magnetic board because I may want them again. Come on. There we go. And once again, I can just take this, glue it down, and then we could throw, look at that. How pretty is that? Oh, or one of my little girls. I think they might be too big. Let's put these ones. Considering it's back to school, what if we did that? Oh my stars, look how cute that is. So I could tuck her in behind so she's just peeking through the porthole. Whoops, I just bent the telescope. And I want a short one. How about get your glow on? Maybe not. You are simply wonderful. What's this one? Oh, with sympathy. No, we don't want that one. Okay, I'm way overthinking. Let's just pick one. That one. You matter more than you know. That one works. So here we go. We can just, so what I would do is I've got her kind of the way I like it. I'm going to flip her over and then maybe even just use my score tape only because it's skinny. Just to hold her in place. There we go. And maybe I should take those backings off. And I can go. Come on, liquid glue. I came down the other day and realized I had left the lid off my glue. So I put the lid back on, but then, you know, of course, as we do, I'm looking around my desk trying to clean stuff off and decide to make something. Take the lid off and left it off again. So, you know, sometimes you need just to remember to put that lid on. All right. So this is going to go here. She's peeking out our window. And again, this doesn't have to be a card. It could be a page element. It could be just a tag. And bloop. Little foam strip for behind our sentiment. How are we doing for time? We're at 8:30. And we'll just tuck that there. So there you go. There's using a frame. Okie dokie. So that's another thing you can do. I don't think I'm going to, maybe I will. I was going to say, I don't think I'm going to make a shaped card, but let's go ahead and make a shaped card so I can show you what to do with the score line. I am going to do it slightly differently though. So this is just a single panel shaped card where I've scored the back in order to make that panel open. Let's do a gatefold though. Let's change it up. In my mind, I'm going back to my arch dies. So I'm going to go a little bit bigger. I think I'm going to go up to this one right here. This one looks like almost a 3x4. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick some cardstock, some bigger cardstock this time. So Darlene's back from vacation, so let's do some purple. And this, oh, I like this color, so let's maybe not do this one. let's do, yeah. Too many choices, too many choices. I like that. Okay. So, where did I put that die? So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut the same shape or the same size of shape on both pieces. And so we'll end up with two. So once again, this is a case where it's a good idea to put things on that jaunty angle. Let me just, that blue one will be okay, but let's cut it down a little bit so I'm not marking things up. I think I said 3, right? Yep. That goes back in my scrap bin. All right, so this time when I cut it, I am putting it on a jaunty angle with that sharp corner in the top, almost center. I mean, it doesn't have to be center, but just that's going to be the first thing it's going to go through. Let's do that. My top plate. There's one. And there's 2. And I think these pieces are now getting too small, so I'm going to give up on them. Sorry, little tape. Except they don't want to leave my fingers. All right, and now I'm going to do the same thing on this color. And I apologize. I'm generally pretty good with my Spellbinders colors, but they're not telling me their names tonight. My memory's not picking them up. Just know that these are all gorgeous Spellbinders colors, and if you need to know the colors, then I'm happy to look them up for you. All right. So because we're doing this as a card or a tag, what I'm going to do is I am going to score the piece that is on the back, the piece that opens up to the back so that the front can stay nice and smooth and seamless. Put that away. Oh, you never know. So much like on this one here, my score line is on the back so that this just folds away. If you were doing this on a layout, for example, if you wanted this to almost be like little shutter doors that open to reveal a photograph, then I would score the front ones, because obviously if it's on a layout, you're not going to be able to allow it to bend backwards. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put that pinky purple on the front and the teal on the back. So because I'm going to do a score on either side, I'm going to put the flat edge at the top just so it's nice and snug here in my scoreboard. And because they're smaller, I don't want to have a big score line. So I'm only going to do 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to do 1/4 of an inch here. And I'm going to do 1/4 of an inch over here. So as you can see, I've got those 2 very narrow score lines left and right of that piece. That is the back. On the front, this front piece, I'm going to cut it in half. So as I said, so it's actually 2.5 inches wide. So half of 2.5 is, my goodness, why is that hard? 1.25. 1.25 plus 1.25 is 2.5. Making sure everything's lining up here, and schnick. So I've got those 2 ready to go. This is where my super skinny 3mm score tape is going to come into play. It's going to fit right inside this score line, like so. You could use liquid glue as well. I just prefer for this, I like to have that dry tape that I can just manipulate, try and make sure the center of my tape doesn't come out. All right, and now I can peel. And one side is going to go over here, lining up my corners, getting it all lined up. The other side is going to go over here, line that up. And now, when my little gate opens, it can open to reveal the message inside. So you could put a flower, the little flowers, you could stencil it. You could even put a little faux doorknob on there so that opens up and reveals your message. And like I said, this could be a tag. If you're going to do it a tag, I might do it just on the inside, not on the outside, because you want that to kind of stay closed and camouflaged. Or it could just be its own little standalone card. And again, if you were to do this on a layout, I would score the top ones just so that top bit is opening up without too much trouble. So that is the gatefold. That is a shaped card. And that is the exact same process that I did to do this one. Now, personally, I find it easiest to have a straighter edge in order to do that score line. You could totally do it down here, but I find it a little harder to get things straight. So that's a personal preference for me. I always try to have a straighter edge where I do the score line, but anything is possible. Okay, next up. And yeah, the next one might be, well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So the next one I'm going to call a swivel card. And this one I am going to flip over here. This is a nesting set that's called Floral Reflections. It is actually retired by Spellbinders, but we do have some still in stock. So I want to show you how to do a swivel card. And even if you don't have this shape, any shape will do. You can use it in a lot of different ways. It's a different way of doing a shaped card. If you don't like that score line, or like this one, like I said, I like to have a straight edge. There is not a single straight edge left on this die, but this swivel will give you some options. So, hardest decision of the night: colors. What colors am I going to do? I love this color, and no. Oh, that is lovely. This green actually looks quite a bit more electric on the screen than it does in real life. So maybe I'll rethink that one. Let's do, oh no, I have red. So for this one, you're going to need brads. Where did my brads are up here on my magnet board. I have red brads. So I want to make this Christmassy. There we go. So let's go with that red, and let's go with that green. So this one, I'm actually going to do two different sizes. My red piece is going to be a little bit larger. So let's go with that one. And this one is going to be a little bit smaller. Will the next size down still fit on my paper? Oh, just. That is my lucky day. So I'm cutting two shapes. I'm going to do them one at a time. The back side is a little bit larger than the front side. You could do them You could do them the same, just like we did that gatefold, but this time I just wanted to try something a little bit different. All right. Up on the board because I'm too lazy to clean up right now. That goes in there, and then let's do this one. That's just a little hair. Okay, let's get this guy to fit. And I mean, even though I'm doing all solid color cardstock, there's no reason whatsoever that you could not do any of these same techniques with pattern paper. Depends on the thickness of your paper. I might double stack. I might do a couple of layers, say, of that yellow frame that I had done on this one. That would have given it some extra dimension. All right. There's that. I'm going to get rid of those little bits. Just keep the big piece. All right. So here is where we're going to have some magic. So I'm going to stack them just like this so that it looks like it's a nice even frame. Kind of looking at this, they almost look like lips, but they're not. It's just called Floral Reflections. And what I'm going to do is on one end over here, I'm going to poke a hole through both layers of my cardstock. Now, Spellbinders cardstock is lusciously thick. So if you have trouble doing them both together, do one first and then do the other one. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try and get it through both. Don't poke yourself. Just using my pokey tool, I'm working my way through, making a hole, giving it a little wiggle so that it's nice and big for my brad to go through. And I'm going to take my brad. Maybe the hardest thing tonight will be just getting this little Ziploc open. One little brad. And I'm going to feed it through my hole. Open up the backing. And then look, it can swivel. So you can then, I mean, if you really wanted to be fancy, you could go the next size down to this, cut it out of white. And do I have, sorry, as I reach across and dig in this little basket, what white pieces do I have? Oh, here's here's a cream piece. Let's do that. So I can go, I'm actually going to go 2 sizes down just to this little itty bitty one. Crank that through. So feel free to dig out all the little brads that you have in your stash. So a couple things. You could put that on the front and you've got yet another layer to kind of anchor whatever embellishments you put on there. Or you put it on the inside. So that's where you can write your sentiment. My glue got a little drippy. There we go. So that now gets lined up inside. You can write your little message on there, and then this just swivels over top to hide it. So then you can go, and I think I bumped it so it's not straight anymore. There we go. But you do want it at least one size smaller so that it will hide underneath that top piece. So there you go. We've done shapes on a card. We've done a frame. We've done a shaped card, which we also doubled as a gatefold. We've now done a swivel card. And I think we have time for one more card. And that is an easel card. Because sometimes, you do have these kind of round bits. So how do you make it so that it'll still stand up, even though there's no kind of flat bottom for it to work with? So with an easel card, you need a base, and then you need your little stand-up bit. So this time maybe I'll go back to, let's go, I think that one's called, and my windy, and I think that one is Oceanside. And yes, this one I'm going to do a little baby easel card. So let's do, what other shapes do I have? Do I go back to my oval? No, my oval's got a pretty square bottom. You know what? Let's stick with this Floral Reflections. So if I'm going to do it this way, will this one fit? It sure will. And because it's cardstock, I can even do that. So let me cut that one out. All right, and what is the size of this? This is about a 3x4. So I want this piece here to be 4 inches wide, but I want it 6 inches deep because I'm making this as my card base. So 4 inches wide. And 6 inches deep. Back in the scrappy pile. Find my scoreboard. Sorry, words were failing me. So this is 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to score it at 3. Like that. Which is what my typical card base would be. But I need to score it one more time because I want this to kind of stand up and be a little bit more dimensional. So I'm going to score it in half again, which in this case at 3, take it down to 1.5. Like so. So now I've got a card that's got a solid base and then a 2-part front. Put that away. And now what I can do is I can go ahead and I'm going to attach this right to my card front. And yeah, I've done it really nicely where my points can go right on that fold. So I'm going to glue it, but I'm only going to glue the bottom half. Like so. And when I've got it laid here, I want my points on that score line. So that when it stands up, it's got that extra little bit right there. Now, if I wanted to be super fancy, I could take my fussy cutting scissors and cut it that way. But for tonight's purposes, I think you get the idea. It's all ready to go. What am I going to do with this? Let's do a smaller floral reflection shape just to accent it. So that's like that. This is going to go up here on our main piece, and it's going to go the whole area, so I can cover that all with glue. There we go. So there's our front. Now with an easel card, you do need something on the inside to, as a stopper to hold it in place. So this is where I'm now going to go to my teeniest floral reflection. Let's do it out of that windy color again. Let's see if I can just get, oh, let's put that one up here so I don't lose it. Let's just trim around that. die cut that out. And then this one I'm going to pop up. Now, what I would typically do is I might stamp a little sentiment on that or a little image, but I'm just going to put that little piece, and I want it just kind of here so that now my card stands up. And this is where I can take, do I have something small? Oh, I think these are my boys over here. Oh, that's kind of fun. I like him. And my sentiments went for a little ride, so I'll have to add a sentiment later. But I can just take him. I mean, this would be really cute on a wobbler as well. But here he is doing his little break dancing move here on the card. And you know what? Even though this is what you would typically call I'm going to call it a girly shape, where it's very petally and soft. To me, it also kind of looks like clouds, and it's got lots of movement. So putting a little boy on here doesn't bother me in the least. So that's just another way that you can make use of your shaped nesting dies, using all the different sizes that you can to just have fun. And I'm going to reiterate that if it were up to me, my nesting dies are my must-haves. I absolutely love playing with them. I love coming up with different ideas and different ways to use them, thinking of them differently. Again, I think this is one of my favorite ideas, is taking it and turning it on its side. So there you go. So I don't know if I got to all 8. The last idea that I have written down on here is shakers. And that kind of goes hand in hand with doing frames, because you could do your frame, then you can actually use that same outer die to cut your acetate and then put your foam underneath it and make your own shakers using the nesting dies as your frame. So there you have it, folks. Back to basics with nesting dies. I challenge you, now that the kids are back in school and hopefully everyone is getting back to routine, I challenge you to make some time for yourself. Get out even one set of nesting dies and just see how many different cards you can make using the same shape. You really will be amazed at how far they will go, what you can do with it, and how much fun you can have. So thank you very much for everyone for tuning in tonight. I will sign off until next week, when we'll have another Back to Basics for September. Actually, let me come back here. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll talk to you soon. Good night.